This edition of the Ridley Report was brought to you by Cycle, CAI, the company that collects with respect. Now, this is a Quickie Cam edition. Hi, Jim. This is a Quickie Cam edition of the Ridley Report, and I want to bring you up to speed on some things that happened today at the State House. It wasn't a good day. In the words of Rich Tomaso, former Rich Tomaso of the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance, he said it's been a dark day. There were a lot of anti-liberty votes that occurred today, March 5th, 2008, at the State House, and I'll be doing more stories in some depth about the things that happened here today. But I'd just like to summarize some of what went on. First of all, a bill to widen the definition of cigarettes so as to increase tax revenue. That sailed right through the House. There was sailed right through is not quite the word. It took some time, but it did go through. There's also Senate Bill 337, which would make it harder to become a homeschooler, harder to get your kids out of the public school, put them in a homeschool. That bill was amended some to make it a little less harsh, but the main problem remains that it's going to make it more difficult to put your kids into a homeschooling situation if you're in a public school. And that passed committee, I'm sorry to say, 4-2. Now, that's a Senate committee. I don't know what happens to it next. I guess it goes to the full Senate. I don't know if it has to go through the House, but I believe it does. That was an anti-liberty outcome. We had a chance to talk to Governor Lynch today in his office, New Hampshire Liberty Alliance people, maybe about 20 of us went in there, and he did come out and speak with us for about 10 minutes about Real ID and express his opposition and stuff. But the bad news on this is that he was asked by one of the Liberty Alliance representatives, we have this on camera, one of the Liberty Alliance representatives asked him, will you file for an extension on Real ID? Of course, filing for an extension would be a sort of a surrender to the feds on this. He said his answer was, I believe, I have not filed for an extension, which I took to be an ominous answer. He didn't say he would not file for an extension. So that could be an issue. What else happened today? There is a bill to ban firearms inside the State House, but that has been tabled. It won't come up today. Well, it's been moved to another day, I should say, not tabled. There is House Bill, I think, 1261, which is some sort of interstate compact that would give other states some sort of involvement in our education process. This got very little opposition. The actual full-fledged bill got very little opposition. There was an amendment to it that got a lot of opposition, and the amendment, I think, was eventually killed. So this interstate compact, educational, interference in New Hampshire's sovereignty, as some would say, that's gone through, but without some of the more vexatious parts of its amendment. House Bill 1261. That was basically a defeat for all of us. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. There was a CACR bill, which is a constitutional amendment that would have, the way it put it, reestablish local control over education. In my last report, you probably heard about the one that would allegedly maintain local control. This one would reestablish it. Essentially, the premise of the amendment is that the constitutional amendment is that we don't really have local control over education right now. And the idea was to try and reestablish it. Well, that went down to defeat. I think it only got about 90 votes, maybe 250 against. And I'm just checking to see if there's anything else that I haven't updated all of you on. There was a series of bills that the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance was involved in, and I want to get to those later. I'll probably just have to do a separate report, but those would be easy to find from the Liberty Alliance, so I'm not making them the top. I'm trying to focus on bills that maybe you don't, maybe you wouldn't get the information from the Liberty Alliance. I'm trying to give you information on those first, the information that maybe I kind of have to myself. Yep, not seeing anything else. So the next information will have to come in the next report. Oh, with regard to that homeschooling bill, the one the committee voted to pass. Well, I think there were apparently 10 homeschoolers and other fans of homeschooling who went in there, testified against that bill. There was only one person who testified in favor of the bill, and yet it passed. So they're kind of ignoring the will of the people on that, at least the people who are willing to show up at the committee hearing. Today, really about to sign off. for ridleyreport.com. But first, you should know that this edition of the Ridley Report was brought to you by Sickle, CAI. They're a company that does collections a whole new way. They know that not only do you want to keep your money, they know that not only do you want your money, you want to keep your customers. Sickle, CAI, they collect with respect.